All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Spotter Stand, coming at you live this week from Talladega Super Speedway. Once again in the booth, we've got BSR Hot Rod, BSR Pockets, and a few special guests this week. It's BSR Aussie Bill, Les Alexander, and this week we've got with us BSR Rugrat. Welcome all. How's everybody doing this week?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Now, Rugrat, we want to start off, talk a little bit to you. You have been doing some broadcasts for us here for the last week or two and been honing those skills. You and Hot Rod have really been tweaking on that stream, tweaking on the sound, tweaking on the logos. You're getting it looking really good, and I've noticed over the last few broadcasts you have definitely improved and gotten a lot better at actually doing the broadcast. And we're glad to have you here with us this week. We appreciate everything you're doing. How is it for you getting used to doing these and pulling these off every night?
Thank you for having me. I am starting to enjoy it, and yes, I am trying to get better every time I come out. But I'm glad that you've offered me to do this.
Well, I think you definitely are getting better every single time. I went over this morning and rewatched the uh, the Saturday night race, the Boomerang, and I also watched the late night Saturday night broadcast. And I thought you did a great job. And it was especially fun when you had Bill in there with you for a little while, and you guys were able to talk with each other. And yeah, I know it's difficult. It's hard enough to do these by yourself, and when you can get somebody else in there with you to shoot ideas off of it, it seems to make it a lot easier. Did it seem easier for you when Bill was in there and you had somebody else to talk with?
Yes.
Yeah, Bill, we've also got Aussie Bill with us here. Did win a race this week and also sponsor of the Aussie Bill Boomerang 275. Welcome, Bill. We're glad you could join us this week. We'll get to your win later in the week, but we all wanted to say thanks very much for what you've done for us. I know we've already thanked you several times, but I don't think we could do it enough. Above and beyond. Another great BSR member, just pitching in and doing what they can to help this league be as best it can. And, we really appreciate you sending those boomerangs over and helping out with Rugrat on Saturday night.
Thanks, Texas. And as I said, what I do is very little compared to what you blokes do. So I'm just happy to be able to help the best way I can.
Thanks, Bill.
And the Rugrat, the reason I didn't keep broadcasting, I was getting conflicting two sounds in coming back. So I don't know what I've done wrong there, but that's me. As I said, I'm not good with computers.
Yeah, that can get difficult. You have to what you have to do when you're watching the broadcast and trying to do it at the same time. You have to mute YouTube. Otherwise, man, that delay comes back on you, and you're hearing what you said right after you said it. Sometimes while you're still talking, and that can get difficult. But if you mute YouTube while you're doing that and just watch the video, it works a lot better.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Well, that's why I'm sorry, Rugrat, I bailed on you there, but that was the problem.
It's no problem. I'm glad you did what you did. It kind of made it a little easier. And it all depends on the race, too, because if you get a race where there's not very much going on, then it's hard to kind of broadcast. But then if you get a really interesting race where there's so much going on, that's when it's a little more easier to talk.
Yeah, and the more you do this, the more you will get to know all the drivers and their tendencies and what they tend to do on the track, and you'll get better at some of the strategies that guys are trying to use during the race, and it'll just get a lot easier for you the more of these you do. And like I said, we really appreciate you taking the time to do this for us because it just adds a whole nother level to the racing here at BSR. Well, let's get right into the racing. We'll start out with Wednesday night. Now, I know we actually ran the Truck Series on Friday night, but we're going to go ahead and slip it in here on the spotter stand like it was done on a normal Wednesday night race. This was Talladega week, as you guys know, and the Truck Series did run at Talladega this week. We had a great race, a great bunch of races, almost every race this week. Hardly any yellow flags. There were a couple here and there, but a lot of green flag pit stops and a lot of great racing. And this week in the Truck Series at Talladega, it was myself, BSR Texan, managed to bring home the victory on Friday night in that 201 original flavored Drunken Cow jerky machine.
The first place was Texan, second was Steven, third was Brian Fade, fourth was Brian Boyles, and fifth was Ricky J.
Gotta love that Brian Fade.
Brian Fade, one of my favorite drivers of all times.
Well,
No doubt about it.
He broke in now. Everybody's called him Brian.
Everybody has called him Brian Fade. That's right. Brian Fade. Old Brian.
Yeah. Brian Fade was actually very generous this week, as we will get into later in this series when we get to that Boomerang 500. Brian Fade was one of the top 3 finishers in that, but we'll get to that when we get on to Saturday night. Let's take a look at the points here in this Wednesday Truck Series. We're now 6 races into this chase with only 4 races left to go. Let's see how the points stand.
Brian Fade, get into this team speak right now. We're going to need to talk to you here.
Yeah, we are going to need to talk with you, Brian Fade. And
Brian.
Steve Looney, if you happen to be out there, we'd appreciate it if you could join us as well in here in the booth on the spotter stand. Looks like I currently still hold the lead in the Truck Series chase with a 22-point lead over second place BSR Terry Scott, 26 points over third place BSR Brain Fade. You know, both Terry and Brain moved up this week. Terry moved up 1 spot to take over second. Brain Fade moved up 2 spots to take over third. And we've currently got a tie for 4th place between BSR Axel Foley and Monty Keller, both 32 points back. So with just 4 races to go, I've got a pretty good lead there, but anything can happen in 4 races. I can lose most all of that lead in just 1 race. With just 1 bad race is all it takes. So still quite a few people in here with the possibility to take home a victory and a championship in this Truck Series chase. And if you look at how tight the points are there between 2nd and 5th, actually a tie for 4th, but 22 points back to 32 points back. Between those 4 drivers. That's a tight battle right there between 2nd and 5th place. And like I said, all it takes is 1 bad race, and every bit of that lead I've got can go away. So still anybody's chase here with 4 races to go in the Truck Series.
I have a question that might be on the minds of a lot of the viewers out there. Texan, does it feel funny hosting your own show? You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes it does, especially in the beginning. It kind of felt weird when I had to talk about myself in these series, but I think I'm starting to get used to it. And, you know, I mean, yeah, it still feels a little weird, but, you know, hey, we all got to do it. We got to do what we got to do, right?
Well, and I was just, the reason that made me ask that question is I was noticing that you were saying a lot of drivers still have a chance for the top spot here and everything like that. And I'm just wondering in your mind how conflicting that is to have to say that, but not mean that.
Oh, I definitely mean it. I mean, that's the truth. I may not,
or hope that it does not happen.
Absolutely, you
gotta put the scenario out there, but your mind is going, yeah, but I hope that don't happen.
Absolutely, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, I hope that doesn't happen. I want to win that championship, but you know, I mean, it is a possibility, and you know, I would definitely feel bad or wrong if I were sitting here talking about myself as though nobody had a chance. Oh yeah, I got this. Nobody can beat me here. I'm not going to sit here and do that. No way. That would feel weird. But yeah, I mean, it's the truth. Really, 4 races left to go, and we've been getting some great turnouts in these series. So, you know, 18 to 20 drivers show up. Every bit of that lead could go away in 1 race if I have a bad finish. So, I mean
I,
that's it's just the truth there. Anybody in that top 5, 6, 7 drivers, still got a chance at this championship.
I, it, I mean, these tracks that are coming up are going to be they're going to be tricky. So there's going to be people who are good at each track. There's going to be people who are not so good. There's going to be luck. There's going to be wrecks. There's going to be all kinds of scenarios present themselves. So you're right. I just wanted to point out that was, for potentially for the next 4 weeks, this could be the BSR Texans show hosted by BSR Texans.
I sure hope it is. I sure hope it is.
Hey, if you earned it, so there you go.
You
One of
know,
the perks.
I've said several times that I really thought, and still think we might have 3 different champions in these 3 different truck, cup, and Xfinity series. We still might. It's extremely close on the Friday night Xfinity series. I never thought at this point I would be leading all 3 of these series. But hey, maybe we can still have another first. Maybe we can have somebody bring home all 3.
There's the Texan side of what.
Yeah, I'll jinx myself a little bit there.
Yeah, I don't even really like talking about it because I'm very superstitious when it comes to racing. I'm knocking on wood right now because we're talking about it, and I think it's might have affected me a little bit, but that also could just be an excuse. So either way, but yeah, that's this is a very interesting scenario that's presenting itself. But I will tell you this: there are some people. You can look at it like this. I mean, you're hoping to be the first time there, as far as I know. I'm going to have to go back and do some research, but the first time to win all 3 major series championships in all 3 major series. The one thing to remember is that there's 24 people in every series who are hoping that doesn't happen, or for the most part, they're going to try to keep that from happening if they can. So that's something to consider.
Oh yeah, I believe me, it's on my mind every race. And when we get down close to the end of these, like 4 races to go here in the truck, I will look at that spread, and I may adjust my racing style. I may not be as aggressive as I would at some other times. I may hold back and not try to make a pass if I don't necessarily think I need to, just to protect that lead, because what I'm looking at is just having a good, decent finish. And not blowing up, not getting involved in an accident. Sometimes being a little more aggressive when you feel like you need to gain those points, that's what can get you in that accident. So, just protecting that lead, I think, is what I'm going to look at in this truck series for the next 4 races and see what I can do about pulling off at least three more good finishes.
And I will tell you, having Talladega right where it's at on the schedule took some that was actually there was quite a bit of thought behind that, because that actually makes it perfect, because after Talladega you have 4 races left. Talladega is almost like a reset button, or it'll at least tell you what if you can survive Talladega, and hey, if you get a good finish like you did, you won. You can't get a better finish than that. That will set you up for the final 4 races, and that is a pivotal moment in the championship chase. I believe is Talladega. It's the stage could not be any better set than it is. So this will, going forward, the last 4 races of the chase are going to be very interesting. I mean, they really are, just with the tracks and the different tracks. And the way this is set up, leaving Talladega is going to be it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, speaking of Talladega, and the great equalizer, I know you didn't want to bring this up or talk about this, but as well as anybody how these tracks can go. Drivers that would normally have a great race, guys who run every Saturday night like yourself and usually have great finishes, great pit stop. You had some really rough luck this week at Talladega. And I was lucky to have a pretty decent week and get a decent finish, I think, all week in Talladega. And, that could have been me. The same things that happened to you, that those can happen to anybody at this type of track and this type of racing.
What can I say? It's Talladega. I mean, going in, but I'm one of the most optimistic people about Talladega because normally I do okay there. I mean, that pays homage to the years of being in Bomb Squad racing because back in the Sierra Lobby days when we had pickup races, we ran super speedways. They called us plate monkeys, Dega heads, whatever. That's what we did. That was our specialty, was super speedway racing. And just years of doing it has kind of given me the ability to do it. And I tell you, that's one of the reasons why I said this is so pivotal because this race at Talladega, because it changed my chase. I promise you, it changed a lot of things for me. I mean, even though I advanced in one of the series in points, well, it was due to somebody else having bad luck. And I mean, it's just Talladega. What can you say? You got to take the good with the bad. Maybe I'll be able to come back and do something here surprising, maybe at a track like Phoenix. So you can't ever tell.
Now, since we moved this race over to Friday night, we did have a race in the dirt this Wednesday night in the Drunken Cow Jerky Late Model Dirt Series. It did not count towards the points, but we had a fun run at the Springfield Mile. That's the track that's going to be coming up, the last points race in this series. And when you know it, BSR Brain Fade pulls off the victory at the Springfield Mile.
Nope, you got them backwards.
Oh, I got them backwards.
Won Friday night. Mr. Wills won as I ran out of gas. One run at Springfield Mile.
Give me 1 second here. Y'all can talk about this Springfield Mile while I adjust these renders.
The Springfield Mile is a nice big track. Kind of Talladega, if you will, for the dirt. When you say pocket,
I think it's a mile long too, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's why they call it the Springfield Mile.
I was wondering about that. It seemed like it was right at a mile. It's super fast though. That is a good track, all kidding aside. But and it is 1 mile, I believe.
Yes, it is, and that's kind of why I threw it in on our Talladega week as the fun run. We were going to have a fun run anyway, and I figured that was kind of a Talladega style dirt track, so I figured it would be right at home for that week.
So you put the longest track in dirt, or the mile's long for a dirt track. I mean, that's there's not very many mile-long dirt tracks, are there?
No,
they're all short.
The Syracuse in New York is a mile. Springfield's a mile. I think they're the only 2-mile tracks that I'm aware of in the NR2-3 game.
Well, there you go. So I tell you, that dirt series is that thing's taken off. I mean, it's just so much fun with the people who step off in there and enjoy dirt racing. That series is just so different. Dirt is just so much different style of racing. But it's still racing, and the racing is great in the dirt, and that's what keeps these guys coming back and battling for these championships and running these races and racing for those wins, like our good friend Brian Fade.
Yes, Brian Fade.
Speaking of Brian Fade, Brain has joined us here in the booth. Welcome, Brain, and we're glad you could join us here. We got some things we wanted to talk with you about here later on in the show. How's your week been?
Actually, my week's been very good, and I suppose I should apologize for misspelling my name so long ago, but it is what it is.
Well, I don't know if you caught the very beginning of the show tonight, but once again, you were called Brian Fade by BSR Rugrat.
I heard that, yeah. Funny.
It wouldn't be the first time, so don't feel bad about that. Let's take a look at the points in this series. Even though this was a fun run, I figured I'd go ahead and throw the points up as we head into the last race of this season, and it is BSR Brian Fade with the lead. A pretty good lead.
Congratulations to Brian Voiles on that win. I don't even think I said that. Good job, Brian.
Absolutely. And Brian Voiles been having a great season here as we begin to get towards the end of the season. He's pulled off several victories and had some great races in all of the series. So, hats off there to Brian for stepping up his game here late in the season. With the way things have been going for him, I think he's going to have a great season next year.
Yeah, that being an exhibition race too, I wanted to point out that Brian is fortunate that we have a great production like the spotter stand and stuff, because winning an exhibition race, or as we call them, fun runs, you don't even get a render for that. So he did get a little extra bang for his buck here this week on the spotter stand.
Well, Brain Pay does lead the points in this series with just one race left to go. You got BSR Furco in second place, not too far back, down by 13. And after so many races, we've got a tie for third place between BSR Hot Rod and BSR Pockets, down by 20. And then myself, BSR Texan, sitting there in fifth place, down by 104.
All right. So stop right there, because I want to ask Larry a question. I want to ask the foot doctor a question here, because he's got all the info over there. All right, so the Springfield Mile was an exhibition race for the finale coming up next week, right?
That is correct.
All right, so we're looking at the points. You and I are tied. Furco's 13th. If that would have been the real race Friday night, how would this have shaken out? Can you look at that real quick?
Yes, I would be ahead of you for third. Furco would still be in second, and Brain Fade would still be the winner.
Where the hell did I finish? I thought I beat you Wednesday.
Nope, you stayed behind me on Wednesday. Even though I ran out of fuel, I still beat you to the line.
Oh, he ran out of gas and still beat me. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Now, that's one thing we did find out on Wednesday night. We ran a little bit shorter race than we normally would. And with the normal length race that we'll be running in this dirt series, we will not be able to make it on fuel, which is rare for a dirt race.
That is correct. There will have to be at least one pit stop for fuel, 2 cans. Now, depending on how cautions shake out and stuff like that, you may be able to stretch and do some other scenarios and do 1 pit stop. It goes green. It may end up paying to do 2 1-can stops. May end up being a factor. There's going to be lots of strategy in the dirt. It's going to make it very, very interesting.
Now on Thursday night, we run the Cup Series following the NASCAR Cup schedule. Also ran at Talladega this week. And this Thursday night's Talladega race was a very special race for all of us. It was the Commander Board Signs 200 at Talladega Motor Speedway. And we all know what we ran for, that great custom-made trophy put together by Steve Looney and Commander Board Signs. And who was it that brought home the victory and that trophy? BSR Hot Rod and that number 65 teriyaki flavored Drunken Cow jerky machine. Great job, Larry.
That's what I said. Pockets. Who? If I remember last week on the spotter stand, I told everybody I didn't have a chance. I was going to try to push somebody and get the best finish I could. Well, lo and behold, I guess I was wrong.
No, you got the best finish you could.
Yeah, I ended up winning.
That was That was a hell of a finish to that race.
It
It came up to pretty much everybody had to pit at the end for a splash of fuel. Some people had to take a half a can with just a few laps left to go. And several drivers, everybody, I think, taped up. It was just a matter of how much tape people chose to put on their car. I put on 80. I know BSRSS Jobo went, he risked it and went for it all with 90 tape. And when we pulled out of the pits, I mean, he flew by me. I had no chance of catching him with even with 80 tape on. BSR Momo put 85 on. I believe you, Larry, also had 80 tape on.
No, 75. I only went 75.
Well, as we're coming around on the last lap, SS and I were trying to catch up to the leaders, which were Momo and Hot Rod. And SS blew up, and I managed to get by him and was still trying to chase down the leaders. I was within their draft, but I don't think without SS's help there, I didn't have enough time to catch up. And Larry running in second place behind Momo. Momo had that race won. It was all his. It was in the bag. And coming off of turn 4, Momo blew up. And Larry sailed right on by and took the win. And, man, that was just a hell of a race. A lot of green flag pit stops. And all that strategy there at the end with cars blowing up and cars running out of fuel. I believe 2 cars.
Yep, DJ ran out of fuel.
Yep.
Steven ran out of fuel.
Yeah, 2 cars stayed out and tried to make it on fuel. Both of them ran out, and they ended up coasting across the line, but not enough speed. They just got overtaken by the cars who did pit and had tape. And, you know, awesome job, Larry, and congrats on that victory and bringing home that trophy, man. I know we were all wanting to get that, and, you know, that's a very unique trophy, man, and you got it, man. Good job.
Yep.
All of that you just explained happened out of turn 4 before the trial, from there to the trial. All of that happened right there. Momo blew up just past the trial, and it was just masked. It was one of the most craziest finishes I ever seen. 2 cars out of fuel in the middle of the trial, 2 cars blowing up. The rest of the pack racing as fast as they can go, not lifting for anything. And Larry the Jaeger, the foot doctor, comes across the finish with a huge. That's huge. That's big time right there. It don't get no bigger than that. That's the chase race at Talladega. That means when you walk into the garage Wednesday morning, everybody's going to be like, what's up? What's up? That dude, he won Talladega right there. So there you go, Larry. Congratulations. And a great prize from our good friend Steve Looney and Commander Board Signs. We were fortunate enough to be able to put up a deal to name this race the Commander Board Signs of Alabama Incorporated 200. Larry walks away with the victory, a chase win, 10 races. Get 1 win in 10 races is something to be proud of. I say anyway, but yeah, that's a huge deal right there. And we want to thank Steve for the great piece of artwork. The buzz that created, I could not be more proud of that moment. That the buzz that created in that race was unreal. You made a mistake in that, and it was over because those guys were on top of it. They wanted that prize.
Yes, that race totally lived up to the hype. No doubt about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like Pocket said, all of the action on the last lap, last quarter of a lap. 2 cars in the middle of the track out of fuel. 2 cars blowing up. Both managed to get out of the way. And the rest of us racing back trying to dodge those out of fuel cars. I mean, it couldn't have got more exciting than it was at the end of that race. Do we have a top 5 for that race?
Yes.
Yes. First place is Hot Rod. Second is Texan. Third is Monty. Fourth is Rick. And 5th is Momo.
Momo blowing up still ends up running up to 5th place. That's man, I can't believe he ended up coasting into 5th place.
Talk about getting lucky, because I think he's a contender here, isn't he, in the points?
Yeah, I do believe he is.
Yeah, he is. Let's take a look at the points here. I believe this was race number 5, and we have 5 races left to go in the Cup Series chase.
Lord, Texan, you finished 2nd?
Yeah, I pulled off a second place.
All right,
I
so
was there
far
fighting
the
for it.
score is you finished first and you finished second.
At Talladega. I had a decent week this
Okay.
week at Talladega. Yeah.
It's okay.
I've got a first place and a second place
I just
so
want
far.
to keep track of how this goes for you here, because I know how I did at Talladega. I don't know exactly how well you done, but we'll see.
You know what was crazy about that though? That's my first points cup win ever. We pulled out the shootout car, which had won earlier in the year, and that's the car.
Yeah,
we
because
ran.
we were talking about that you were the exhibition guy. You won all the exhibition races, but couldn't nail down a points deal,
Race.
and then you stepped up there and nailed down one of the biggest races.
Yeah, if not the biggest all season long.
I'm telling you, man, Talladega's a huge deal. It's bigger than most people realize.
Well, this looks like I am still in the lead here in the Cup Series chase as well. And Rick Craddock with a decent finish and finally got his points updated for the win that he had earlier in the chase. Has moved up 3 spots to second place, only down by 17 points. BSR Terry Scott still holding down third place, actually tied. Look at that, tie with Axel Foley for third place, both down by 19. And Momo with his 5th place finish moved up 2 spots to take over 5th place, down by 26. So 5 races left to go in this series. I do still have the lead there, but man, like I said earlier with the trucks, anything can happen in 5 races. And we usually get some good turnouts in these races. So knock on wood here that I can pull off 5 decent finishes and protect that lead all the way to the end of this Cup Series chase.
You know what's crazy about that, Pug? It's me and you sitting in 8th and 9th, and we still got a shot to win. Imagine that. With 5 races to go, we still in the hunt.
Where are we going to be headed to next week in this series? Is it Martinsville or Kansas?
Sure, I do.
Next week we go to Kansas. The trucks go the following week to Martinsville, and the Xfinity will be off.
Let me tell you something. If I make my goal right now is, dude, I'm in 10th.
But mathematically, we still got a shot to win the championship. We could still do it. It's not impossible.
Well, I'm going to have to damn sure mathematically do something, because my goal is just to be in the top 5 at this point, for God's sake.
Well, my goal and its set out was to better my finish from last season, which was outside the top 10, and so far I'm hanging in there.
Well, I'll tell you this, as long as you see those little +1 signs beside your name and don't see a -1 sign like beside my name, then
moving up the highway.
You're doing something right. You don't have to do anything but look for that little +1 or 2 or like Rick Craddock, 3, because he got his bonus points or his provisional points. They added them in for him. So that top, look at that tie for third place between Axel Foley and Terry Scott. That's going to be I'm foreseeing that is a rivalry heating up right there between Terry Scott and Axel Foley. Axel Foley's stepping all in Terry Scott's yards. All I've got to say. I'm just saying.
You know who had it rough this Thursday at Talladega was the sponsor of our race, Steve Looney there.
Oh, yes.
He had some terrible luck, blew up early in the race.
Yeah, about mid-race.
Yeah, if you recall, he was in second place, only 8 points off the lead going into this race. And with that bad finish, he dropped to 6th place, dropped 4 spots, down by 27. So he lost 19 points in the one race. So you can see how worried I am about that lead. Even though I've got a 17-point lead, that can all go away. One race, one bad finish, and 19, 20 points is easily lost in one race.
If you think about that for just a second, our good friend Steve, who handmade this custom trophy, the worst scenario that you could present it at Talladega happened to him. It could not have. That's blowing up early like that and finishing dead last. Man, we were all heartbroken over that deal. But that's Talladega. It's that pivotal. It's that pivotal time. You know what I mean? He could have very easily gotten in a wreck, but still not even having a chance to fight for it is just that's a little bit of salt in the wound as far as I'm concerned. And that was a hell of a race, and we really appreciate Steve and everybody at Commander Board Signs of Alabama.
Yeah, there is that render of the actual trophy, fully finished. You can see he's even got the start finish line on there, and BSR Hot Rod Larry Yeager Jr. is going to be hanging that on his wall shortly, and that is absolutely awesome. You can't say you can't say enough about that. That's absolutely awesome. That is a great trophy, and I'm sure Larry is going to be proud of that one.
I will tell you this: it's one of the only trophies or anything prize to do with sim racing that my wife didn't roll her eyes at. She actually said, "That's cool." No, that's really cool, is what she said. So I also heard through the grapevine that several other sim racers' wives or significant others had said that they would actually let you probably hang that somewhere a little more prominently than in your man cave or something like that. That's a mantelpiece right there. That's the pinnacle right there. That's good stuff.
My wife told me that I was not allowed to hang it down here. I had to hang it upstairs. Mandatory. Must be hung there.
How about that? Whole family's going to be proud of that one.
Saying that's
The most important thing, though, was it was designed and made by a BSR member, which makes it even more important than just the trophy.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
that's what we were saying. That's a one-off piece of art right there. That's a one of a kind. Nobody else got one of them.
Yep,
Yes,
you can't go out and buy one.
And here's the thing about that, Pockets, is even if Steve made another one, say for next year, he makes another one and presents it as a prize, it still won't be exactly the same. It'll never be exactly the same.
Yeah, that's a one of a kind.
Well, we did not have an Xfinity race this last week, so we don't have anything to show you guys in the Xfinity series. We ran the truck race on Friday night, but we did, as usual, after the Friday night race, we do run the late night Boyles Trucking Empire State Dirt Track Championship Series. And this week on Friday, in the Boyles Trucking Dirt Series, we ran at Fonda. And I believe I've got these renders in the right order, and it was BSR Brain Fade in that number 49 Carolina Reaper machine who brought home the victory at Fonda. Great job, Brain.
Yeah, thank you. Finally, my sponsor finally gets his render.
The top 5 are first place, Brain Fade, second,
HB Hardy.
HB Hardy, third, Furco, fourth, Ricky J, and fifth, Pockets.
You there, BSR Pockets bringing home a top 5 in the dirt.
Best week ever. Finished fifth. I tell you, where does anybody remember where Brian Fade finished in the first Fonda race? Because we're back around the cycle. We're back to where the Empire State Dirt Track Series Championship started. So we did 5. Now we're back around to Fonda, and we're going to do them all one more time. So I wonder how well he did it there the first time, because he did very well. Yeah. So see, that's that's what's interesting about going back to these other tracks. You can probably look and see kind of who's who, kind of a who's who of these tracks as we circle back around. But good win, Brain. Good job.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, I was in the right spot at the right moment. I think something happened near the end, and I squeaked through out into the lead.
So that is what? That puts us 6 races in with 4 races to go in this series. Let's take a look at the points here. It is BSR Brain Fade with the victory, moves up 2 spots to take over first place. BSR Hot Rod dropped a spot, moved down to second place, down by 7. BSR Brian Voiles also dropped a spot to third, down by 10. BSR Chevy Chase in fourth, down by 18. And BSR Pockets with the 5th place finish, also sitting in the 5th place spot in the points, down by 33. So Brain Fade leading both dirt series at this point, leading the Wednesday night series and leading the Friday night dirt series with 4 races to go on Friday and just 1 race to go on the Wednesday series.
Yes, Brain Fade pretty much has the Wednesday series sewed up. I don't think anybody can touch him. We'd have to have catastrophic failure at the Springfield Mile in order for him to lose it.
Yep, but this particular series right now that we're looking at, yeah, that's anybody's race right now.
Yeah, because a couple of those drivers I see sitting there, BSR Hot Rod, BSR Brian Voiles in second and third. Both of those guys, dirt veterans. We all know the Foot Doctor is great at the dirt, so he's going to be doing everything he can to regain that lead away from you there, Brain. And Brian Voiles, also a great dirt racer, usually has some good finishes. He's going to be tough to hold off for these next 4 races as well.
I was gonna say that looks like the perfect opportunity for me. I'm gonna instigate a little smack talking between that, because that's only 3 points to finish second place, and with the possibility it'd be highly unlikely, but I don't know if you get the bonus point for the qualifying heat race or whatever, and now you're still gonna be close. If we had 12 or 13 people, you might be able to get in there and knock Brain out, right?
On Monday night?
Yeah, this series right here.
No, this one has 4
1
races
race left
to go.
How many?
4.
Oh,
4
okay.
more races. Yes.
All right, so I'm completely lost.
Yeah,
Go
I was
ahead.
going to say, but you could still get some smack talk in there, because sitting in 5th place,
I will. Don't worry.
if you can get in those other guys' head and get them beating and banging on each other, then you can gain some points in there.
And you got to remember, Pockets, I lost 20 points in 1 race to Brain Fade. 20 points, 1 race to Brain Fade.
Right, so that 7 points can disappear.
In a heartbeat.
Like Killer said, that could evaporate. I could find myself in 3rd place next week.
Yes. And I did remember saying, I don't remember if I said it on the spotter stand last week or if I just talking to Brain Fade and Pockets, but I didn't like being the chasee. I'd rather be the chaser. So I'm in a spot where I'd much rather be.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's completely opposite my philosophy. I'd always, if you're the chaser, that means you need to gain points. If you're the chasee, all you got to do is try to hold on to what you got. You don't have to worry about necessarily finishing in front of those guys that are right behind you. If you finish 1 spot behind them, well, you might lose 1 point, but you're still holding on to that lead. If you're the chaser and you finish 1 spot behind them, well, you just lost a point. So, in my book, it's much better to be up there and already have those points and not have to worry about gaining those points every race you go to. That's just me. Like I said, everybody's got their own philosophy about chaser, chasee, and who's actually got the pressure on them. But yeah, I think the pressure's on everybody. The chasee, he's got to worry about having that good race, not blowing up, not getting in an accident. Chaser, it's on him for sure, because you've got to have a good race if you want to gain those points and get them back. So, there's 2 sides to that coin, but I'd much rather be at the top and just already have the points, not have to worry about gaining them. Just worry about losing them.
So you like being all nervous and shit.
Brain Fade, would you rather be the chasee or the chaser?
To be honest, I'm just surprised that I'm leading the 2 dirt series, because until this week I hadn't won a race. I just kind of averaged my way. I had a really good average. So I'm kind of surprised where I'm at, but I'm fine being in the front. Yeah. I just gotta try not to make mistakes or minimize them.
I would take surprised and average if I was the points leader right now.
It's a good average, though.
Exactly.
all I'm just gonna say, Brain, is I won the last two championships as the chaser, not the chasee.
Yeah, well, there's another one if you can try for. Yep.
Yep. But I do know one thing, Brain Fade. You're right about one thing. You, out of all the people in the dirt, are probably the most consistent out of all of them.
I try to stay out of trouble, and
Yep, 10
really,
4.
it's and dodge other people's misfortunes.
Well, let's move on to the other really big race of this week in the Saturday night team series. We are into season number 36 of this series. There's a look at your current teams, which driver is on which team. And this Saturday night was another very special race for us this week here at BSR at Talladega. It was the Aussie Bills Boomerang 275 Saturday night. We turned this Saturday night team series. Not only have we been racing the pink cars in honor of the Kathy Voiles breast cancer awareness, but we've also turned this race into another great prize race here at Talladega. And BSR Aussie Bill was generous enough to acquire 3 boomerangs hand carved by Aboriginals in Australia, sent them over to us here, and the top 3 finishers in this series all are going to receive a boomerang as their prize. And this week at Talladega in the team series, it was once again myself, BSR Texan, in that pink breast cancer awareness ghost flavored drunken cow jerky machine, brought home the victory once again here at Talladega.
Yes, congrats to Texan. Wins Boomerang. Brain Fade gets second. He gets the Boomerang. And Mr. Looney, with some redemption from blowing up on Thursday night, finishes third and he gets a Boomerang. Ray 50-50 and Steven round out top 5.
Now that was another interesting race here coming up to the end of this. We had a lot of green flag pit stops. Almost the entire race went green. Again, it was going to come down to fuel. Several of us, I know Brain and I were on the same strategy. We both were able to make one extra lap on the second to last pit stop. So by the time we'd made our last stop, come out of the pits, it was 18 laps to go, and we were both good on fuel, had enough to make it for the rest of the race. I believe it was Steve Looney and Ray 50 who had to save their fuel on that last run. So they were kind of riding behind Brain and I, saving fuel that entire run to make sure they were going to be able to make it to the end. And really, I was a sitting duck up there in the front as we were coming down to the last few laps. I know there were a few drivers who had mentioned they had put tape on their car on that last stop, and they were getting hot. And I think with about 10 laps to go, I was worried at that point that one of them was going to blow up and we were going to have a caution and bring the whole rest of the field back up to play, because there was only 4 lead lap cars up in that lead draft at that point. There were also 4 lap down cars in that draft, but you know, at that point I only had 3 other lead lap cars to contend with to try to get one of those top 3 finishes. And if one of those guys had blown up with 8 or 9 or 10 laps to go, that would have brought the entire field back into play, and that would have completely changed the outcome of that race. And as it is, I got lucky. One of those drivers did blow up, but they didn't blow up until it was 4 laps to go. And by the time we got back to the line and took the caution, there weren't enough laps for the race to go back green. And we did finish under caution, but you know, lucky for me, it was over halfway through the lap. I think we were already in turn 3 when that car blew up and the caution came out, and there just wasn't enough time for Brain Fade and Steve Looney and Ray 50 to be able to mount a charge and get by me before we got to the start finish line. So I really kind of got lucky at the end of that race. Like I said, I was sitting up there in first, just sitting duck for all of those guys to get a big run at Talladega and come past me, especially with the help of those lap cars that were in that draft pack with us. So yeah, it was it was a great race. I'm glad to have been able to brought home that victory, luck or not. I'm going to take that one. That's for sure.
Well, the lap course had a plan with Mr. Looney. I know that. So he didn't go early enough. He just kind of waited a little too long.
I thought it was very interesting having this special event hosted by our great friend Aussie Bill. I thought it was very interesting to have this land squarely in the middle of the team series because you still had to race for your team, still had to try to win the boomerang. And if you win the race, well, that's great for your team. If you win the race, that's great for you. So that's why I was so excited about putting a special event like this with a with some very special prizes right in the middle of that because of the scenarios it created. And I was also going to point out that the great thing about the spotter stand is that, hey, we've actually got a real professional and can give you the winning perspective of a lot of these races and what it's like to be the points leader. So congratulations on that win there, Texan, and get the number one boomerang. There are 3 boomerangs and they are in order, 1, 2, and 3. Texan gets the number 1 boomerang from Aussie Bill, and thanks to Aussie Bill for doing that. That created a lot of fun and a lot more. The racing this week, I told y'all October was going to be huge, and it showed out on the track in these races. The racing has been just incredible, even though they haven't been that great for me personally. I know that these were some great races. This has been a great Talladega week.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that, Pockets, and also that big thanks to Bill for sending those over. We're definitely going to enjoy those. That's another very unique prize. I don't have anything like that, and I'll be proud to hang that on my wall and keep that as a trophy and a reminder of the great week we've had here at Talladega. Now, Brain Fade, one of the reasons we wanted you to join us in here is you did win a boomerang, but you gave your boomerang away this week. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how you decided to do that?
Well, I had a good week. Earlier in the week, I forget which race it was, but it was a beef drunken cow jerky race, and I won 2 bags of jerky. So I've already had a good week, and I've been to Australia. I've actually, as a kid, I lived there for 3 years. When I was in my working career, I had a job in Sydney for about 3 weeks, and I picked up a souvenir boomerang. So I've got a boomerang from, Australia. And at the beginning of the race, didn't really think it might happen, but I said, you know what? If I get a boomerang, I'll lotto it away. And lo and behold, race ends and I've got a boomerang. So as we were going around in caution at the end, I'm sitting there going, well, how do I get this thing, how do I do a fair lottery? So I said, okay, somebody pick a number, boom, and I'll do a little bit of math to it, and we'll get a kind of a random number. And the number 10 came up, which turned out to be Pockets. So he gets the boomerang.
10th place. And I get the 2nd place boomerang.
Well,
through
it's
lottery.
Great that way. Somebody didn't have a chance in the race, maybe had some bad luck. They get a shot.
Hey, those boomerangs are so important that I will take one any way I can get it, and I appreciate that gesture of kindness on your part because I was the one. I had a terrible week up until that point right there. It was a good week for racing and everybody, but for me personally and my successes or failures, I was definitely living in the failure part of it. But I was going to tell Bill. I hope Bill understands what these boomerangs mean, because when you get one of these boomerangs, it's not just, hey, I won this race. There's going to be you probably aren't going to be able to tell the story of that boomerang in under 15 minutes, probably, because it's going to involve this great guy that lives in Sydney, Australia, and racing and team and all, you know what I'm saying? So that's a huge deal. Anytime that, and that's what everyone is going to remember when they see that boomerang, the first thing they're going to remember is Aussie Bill. That's what they're going to think when they see that boomerang. So that was a great gesture, and that's the kind of thing that I think makes a big difference when it comes to sim racing and stuff like that. And we really appreciate it.
I
Yes,
think
yes.
Pockets, don't forget, there might be an additional little something with that boomerang, maybe.
Yes, yes. There's going to be some Vegemite for people to be able. Yeah, we'll get Texan to go. That's right. Texan gets the Vegemite. Texan gets to probably go live.
He's gonna have to taste that live, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna go
No
live, and
pre-testing.
and, and we're gonna let y'all in on some straight up Australian stuff and see what an old boy from Texas thinks about it.
So are you sending the Vegemite to Brain Fade Pockets, being you've already had Vegemite?
Well, I've had
We'll
Vegemite.
we'll do it however we want, but I will tell you this: I think the Vegemite should go with the boomerang because I kind of like that Vegemite. It's if you do it the way Bill tells you to do it, got to put butter on your bread. Make sure you put butter on there, and just don't put a whole lot on there. And it's actually not bad, man. I can understand the concept of it.
I was just curious. I was just wondering if we were sending the Vegemite to Brain Fade or if we were keeping it to you.
That's provided Scar hasn't eaten it all.
Yeah,
Oh,
and he
yeah,
may
we forgot
have.
about that.
He may have, but he may not have. I don't think he was as open minded to it as I was. But I'm not sure. I'll have to double check with him. But yes, that's a big deal. The boomerangs were a huge deal. I had known about the boomerangs for a while, and we had to kind of keep it on the down low. And but that's why this whole month of October in sim racing, and especially when we get to a place that we consider our home track, Talladega, that's a big deal, and we really appreciate it. You got a picture of the boomerangs, Killer?
Yeah, I do. After we take a look at the points here, I'll be
Yeah, all
putting
right.
up a couple of pics of those. With the victory, Ghost moves back up into that top spot. I believe that is 3 victories so far in this series out of 5 races for the Ghost team. And the Carolina Reaper team also doing a great job there. And currently in second place, only down by 6, despite 3 victories by the Ghost team. We've got the Hot team sitting there in third, down by 15. Beer Bacon in fourth, down by 24. Original in fifth, down by 32. And Teriyaki rounding out the field, down by 38, with 5 races left to go in the season 36 of the Saturday Night Team Series. Now, next week in this series, we are going to be having the second race of the Kathy Boyle's Breast Cancer Awareness series, I believe. Is that correct?
That is right. That is next week.
That's
That's the
exactly
final
how
race.
that's exactly how that goes down. It's going to be 3 straight Saturday nights, and next Saturday night is the last Saturday night. It's the second night of the Kathy Boyle's Breast Cancer Awareness Challenge, and after we add up the points there's going to be some huge drunken cow jerky prizes given away. I mean, huge. And then some drawings and all kinds. There's going to be a lot of jerky given away thanks to Brian and Kathy Voiles at Voiles Trucking. I can tell you that. A bunch. A whole bunch.
Well, let's take a look at these great renders here.
I'll tell you how much jerky I alerted the factory and said, you better get your shoes on because we fixing to throw something at you you're going to have to take care of. And they said, we waiting. So there you go, drunkencowjerky.com.
Yeah, you just gave away, I believe it was a total of, 10 bags on, what was it, on Friday night?
Friday.
For the truck
Yes.
race. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
where I got some, yeah.
Yep. Texan, we were talking about that. Yes. Yep. You won 5 bags, didn't you?
Yeah, I've had an absolutely awesome week at Talladega. I mean, it's probably been one of my best weeks of racing all season long. 2 victories, 1 second place. In my victory on Friday night in the truck series, I won 5 bags of drunken cow jerky, which is absolutely great. And then my victory here on Saturday night, I won that top boomerang right there. It's been a great week of racing here at Talladega. These are, as you see these pictures of this boomerang, you've got the first, second, and third place there. That middle one is the one Brain Fade won there, and that was randomly given away, like you said, mathematically. I believe Brain asked me to pick a number, something between 27 and 47, something like that, and I picked right in the middle at 37. So he had
Yep.
10 either way he went, whether he was subtracting from the higher number or the lower number, and that's where Pockets finished, was in 10th spot. And so Pockets is going to end up with that second place boomerang, and Steve Looney, who had a terrible race on Thursday night, gave away that great Commander Board trophy. He comes away with that third boomerang, straight out of Australia from Aussie Bill. And as you can see, man, those are great looking boomerangs, hand carved, one of a kind. Nobody else, is going to have one of those, and I'm glad, each one of those come out unique. I doubt there's any two of those that are exactly alike. They all come out unique because they are hand carved and hand painted by the Aborigines there in Australia.
Don't think for a second that when that thing arrives in the mail to Texan that he's not going to crack it open and hold it up in the air and go, hell yeah.
That's
'Cause
right.
that's exactly what's going to happen, I can promise you.
I'll probably send in a picture of me doing exactly that.
I know that going into this week that Texan, he was shooting for everything that we had. I mean, he wanted that Commander Board trophy like everybody did, and I could just, the excitement just when he found out about these prizes and the special things that people will do. And so it's great to see you get that boomerang. I mean, I know you wanted it really bad, and you went out there and you took care of business and you got it. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm definitely glad to have it. Yeah, it was a very exciting week. Once all these announcements came out last week, like I said before, I can't believe you kept all of this under your hat for so long. I would have been chomping at the bit to just tell somebody about these awesome things that were going to be going on here during Talladega. And once again, even though such great prizes were handed out, and racers were really doing everything they could to get these, everybody still ran nice, clean races. Like I said earlier, a lot of green flag pit stops, very few cautions. So hats off to all the drivers here at BSR. Even going for these great prizes this week at Talladega, everybody still minded their P's and Q's and ran some great, clean races here at Talladega.
Yes, they were clean, but you knew everybody wanted them because we were 4 wide for quite a while on a lot of points in that race.
Oh yeah. When I went back and watched that stream that Rugrat did that Saturday night race, there were a couple of times where we were literally 4 wide for at least half a lap through that Saturday night race, and that was some great racing there. I've got another pick here sent in to me from BSR Brain Fade. There's a pic of Brain Fade with his boomerang straight out of Australia, and this is the reason he chose to randomly give his to somebody else. It's just another great thing about the drivers that we have here at BSR. And the way we all kind of pitch in to do something for the league. And Brain, knowing how much everybody wanted to have one of these unique items here, knowing that he already had one, and he was able to go ahead and gift his out and let somebody else have one of these great trophies. Just great people here at BSR, great drivers, and everybody pitches in and does a little something, does what they can to make this a really great place to race.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brain. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy and see. And now that boomerang, my story, even though it takes me a long time to tell a short story anyway, I have to interject all the Brain Fade part of it, gave it away, did the math. So you can tell. So when people ask about that boomerang, it's going to be a 20-minute story. So,
20
and
minutes.
Yeah.
It's
And it was
2
just weird.
hours.
My teammate actually
Man.
won the boomerang that I
I
gave away.
I
You know, how
think
weird is that?
here's what I'll tell y'all. You know, we on team races, we got each other on Whisper, and after I was involved in an unfortunate accident and had my car damaged, and I think it's important to say that I drove harder with a damaged car than I've ever driven in any race ever to finish 10th. I beat half of the people in that race with the ass end of my car tore all to pieces. I drove my guts out to finish 10th. And I ended up, I told Brain, I said, since he's my teammate, we're still team series racing. Remember, even though this is a special event, I said, just get a boomerang. I said, if you get a boomerang, we'll have done good tonight. Just go get a boomerang. And 40 laps later, he gets a boomerang and gives it away. And it's just by the luck of chance, it goes to me. So.
You know what? You know what's crazy about that, right? Pockets is me and you were the ones that got together. That's how you got your damage, and I helped Steve Looney get one. So, which in turn helped Brain get his. So, yeah, it seems like it worked out pretty good.
And
I never raced harder 2 laps down in my entire life. I drove up. If you watched my replay, I drove through the field by myself to get up to the front to try to get a lap back every time we had a run.
Well, that was a great race. I mean, it really was. And Steve Looney getting a little bit of redemption there. It was great to see that happen because, you know, of what happened to him there Thursday.
Yeah, and when
Absolutely.
when Brain threw those numbers out to me, you know, and he was going to give it away to somebody randomly, and he said text and pick a number between, you know, what was it?
I said 64 to 84.
Yeah,
and
64
you picked
to
74.
84. I'm thinking, what the hell, 64 to what the heck? What's he doing? Pick a number.
Well,
I didn't know if
what
you
I-
were. I was like, we don't have that many people in here, and
Exactly.
that couldn't possibly cover everybody's car number. How the hell is he giving this away? So I just went right dead in the middle. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'll pick 74. Yeah,
And what I said was that you said 74, and I had already pre-planned it, saying I think there's about 20 cars in the race. If I'll throw out that group of 20, and I'll subtract whatever number you come back with, I'll subtract 64, and that's who gets it.
And since I went right in the middle, it wouldn't have mattered which way you subtracted. It was 10 either way. So, yeah, Pocket's really lucky there with that random throw out, and you know that was completely random because, like I said, when you threw those numbers out, I had no idea where you were going with those numbers. I think I even said that during the race. I'm like, what the hell? Where did you come up with those numbers?
When he threw that numbers out there, I thought only brain feed could come up with that kind of a deal.
Well, if I just said pick a number from 1 to 20, or I couldn't go 1 to 20 because the first 3 already had boomerangs, so I would have had to go on like 4 to whatever. I don't know how many races there were, so I had to do something that was pretty random and that you wouldn't have a clue what I was doing. So that's what I chose. So it was pretty cool.
That's right about one thing. None of us had any idea how you were doing it. That's for sure.
That's the way it should have been. So I wanted it. You know, there's not a way I couldn't. You know, pull a driver out of a hat. You know, none of that was set up. So.
Brain, remind me, and I'll get you hooked up with some wolf bites. That's Drunken Cow Jerky's pet treats for dogs.
I don't think that concrete dog can eat.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think that.
I mean, I could throw that stick all day long.
That
dog ain't gonna chase it.
I see it. I see a dog. I'm all about the sponsor. Sponsor has wolf bites. We'll see if we can't at least get a picture together there. At least that'll be great advertising.
Yep.
Well, we've got one more race to go over this week. Saturday night after the team series, we run the Boyles Trucking Speedway Series. Actually, it's all different kinds of tracks this season. We've ran 9 races already in this series with just one race to go. And being Talladega week, we were also at Talladega this Saturday night in the Boyles Trucking Series. And it was BSR Aussie Bill the sponsor of Saturday night's race in that 021 Red Bull machine, who brought home the victory at Talladega. Great job, Bill.
All right. Congrats, Bill. Nice job.
Now, I've got to say, in all fairness, there was a lot of damage and retirees in that race. And between Larry, which needs a new bumper on his car for pushing me that hard, Texas, that give you the room, I could not have lost that race with the amount of people that helped me win it. So I think I'll just put that down as a real good friendship win for me.
If nothing else.
Now, nobody say anything, because that's exactly what happened. Everybody knows it, including myself, and I appreciate it. But that's what happened.
Well, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, Bill. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. And I know as we came down, that this was another race that came down to a late pit stop, late in the race. Drivers added tape, and I believe you added. Didn't you go to 65 tape at the end of that race, Bill?
Yep, I put 65. Yep.
Yeah, I think several of us did go to 65, and after the week I had at Talladega, nobody was going to be helping me. That's for sure.
Wait, I want to stop right there, because you bring up, that's the perfect place for me to say this. Whether that's true or not, I will tell you this. They don't like me enough to do that, so that's a huge advantage, and I would be proud to have that advantage. So I'm just going to say.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I knew that nobody was going to be because there were just a few drivers left there up at the front at the end, and I knew after the week I had, nobody was going to be helping me, and I did happen to come out behind Aussie Bill. And I even told everybody else in there, I said, well, if I have to help anybody to a win here out of these drivers, it's definitely going to be that 021 who sponsored the Saturday night race and just gave us all those great boomerangs. So, yeah, I was going to be pushing you. I was going to be in your line no matter how it went for me. I believe I was in second place right behind you as we're coming up to the end. And the 65 VSR Hot Rod managed to get underneath me. And there was nothing I could do about that. The rest of them were going to freight train me, and I think you stayed a little high, and I just stayed up there with you, and you brought home the win. No matter who was pushing you, you still had to drive that thing and stay up there in the front, and you did a great job and a well-deserved victory.
And the other thing is, Texan, if you remember earlier, it kind of shook out. It was me, you, Furco, and Mr. Bill. You were pushing Furco, and I was pushing Bill, and we would swap inside, outside. But I pushed Billy on that whole time, and he ended up leading the most laps. So that's hard to do regardless. So, yeah, he could say that we helped him win that all he wants as friends or whatever, but he earned it. He had to keep it up there, and he had to keep it straight. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's the way it is at these super speedway races. You can't get a win unless somebody's willing to push you to it, because it's all about the draft and it's all about drafting. And if you don't have somebody else in your line, you're just going to go right to the back. So, you can't. Anybody can't get a victory unless they have somebody behind them to push them. So, it was a great race. We got a top 5 in this one.
Hello.
I've got to apologise to Magoo too, because I think with 10 to go, I took Magoo out and he took it on the chin and just said, get on with it. So, I mean, as I said, it was a great friendship race.
Yes, it was. Yes, that was unfortunate, but that's, again, Talladega. What are you going to do? What are our top 5 people at? Larry, you here?
Yep, top 5 was Mr. Bill, Brian Wills, Furco, Hot Rod, and Texan top 5.
Boyles in the second place. I was Brian Boyles finished second place down tailgate, didn't he?
Yes, I kind of got shuffled. They kind of floated me out. I kind of gave Bill a shot, lost a little momentum, and him and Furco kind of put me out to dry and went by me.
Sounds like you've got one there that needs some whoop bites there, Larry.
Yeah, there you go. That's what's
he gets them all the
got
time.
it excited.
There's another thing I wanted to mention about Friday night, not to bring up the fact that once again Pockets had a terrible week of racing.
Well, you're going to.
But Pockets was in an incident and was out of this race early. We were trying to get him to go in there with Rugrat and help with the broadcast, but with his terrible week, he just wasn't feeling up to it. That's something I wanted to bring up here for the guys that are out there watching. That's what we'd like to try to do here in the future. Anybody that falls out of the race, gets out of the race early, welcome to go down to the live booth and join Rugrat and help her do these broadcasts. It's like we said earlier, it's tough to do these things by yourself. And, she is getting better and better at doing it every week. She's taking her time to do this for us, and it would sure help her out if she could have somebody, anybody that falls out, is out of the race early, to go down there and join her and give her a little bit of extra insight, as a driver in these series, somebody who knows the other drivers and knows the tracks, knows the racing, to help her and throw in a little bit of extra input on these broadcasts. So anybody in the future who falls out, like I said, welcome to jump down there in the booth and give BSR Rugrat a hand broadcasting some of these races.
I would really appreciate that if you do that. It is easier when someone else is in there talking to you. And with you being a racer, you could also show me some things that racers look at that I wouldn't look at that just watching.
Well, I know if I fall out, I'll jump down there and join you for sure and give you all the help and support that I can. And like I said, the more you do this, the more you'll learn about the different series, the different drivers, and the different strategies that go on during these races, and the better and better you'll get at it. You're already doing a great job, and these are only going to get better. They can only go up from here.
Yeah, I kind of tell her the pit windows, so she kind of gets a fuel, she kind of knows when we're going to be coming and not coming for fuel, and I try to help her out the best I can. But most of the time I get so intense into the race that I forget all about she's even there.
Well, we are coming up to the final race in this series. We will be going to Texas Motor Speedway, my hometown, next week in this series to finish up. Let's take a look at the points here with one race to go. It is myself, BSR Texan, with a commanding lead up there at the top, 40 points over second place, BSR Brian Boyles. BSR Hot Rod moves up 2 spots to third, down by 51. Monty Keller, who also kind of had a bad race, had some bad luck, but hung in there for that entire race with a slow car to hold on to fourth place, down by 53. And Steve Looney moves up 2 spots to fifth place, down by 61. So, Monty Keller right there, only 2 points away from being able to pull off a third place. I believe, don't the top 3 get some jerky at the end of this series?
That's correct.
Yeah, so well worth it for Monty to hang in there at the end of that race and bring home every point he can, because going into the final race, he's going to be battling with you, Larry, to try to steal that third spot away and get some of that jerky as we come up to the end of the series.
Well, I know I had my work cut out for me. If I know Monty, he's a lot better at racing Texas than I am. I'm not really that good there.
And Monty just don't wreck. Even when he wrecks, he can minimize the effect. He's just,
even when he wrecks, he doesn't wreck.
Yeah, we've been talking about that all week. I've been laughing. I'm like, somebody said they hit Monty and he hit the wall, and they said, did they bring the caution out? And I said, dude, it was Monty. He don't ever bring the caution out. He ain't gonna wreck. I don't have to bring the caution out anyway, but he had some bad luck there. But again, Talladega, welcome to Talladega.
Well, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and watching us live again this week. We're going to take a minute here before we cut out to thank all of our great sponsors. We'd like to thank the Heyman brothers from Drunken Cow Jerky, Also, Brian and Kathy Voiles from Voiles Trucking, Rick Craddock over at Real Tech LLC, BSR Scar from WLS Graphics, BSR RJ Rusty from the Medicine Chest Pharmacy, and BSR Tyler and Rhoda over at Hello Sunshine Hello. Once again, all you guys really helping us here at Bomb Squad Racing, making this a great place to race. All of our great sponsors and great drivers who pitch in every week, helping us give out some of these great prizes that are awarded regularly here at BSR. And we really appreciate all of you and everything that you do for us.
Hey, and I'll tell you something else real quick. If you will go buy some Drunken Cow Jerky, visit drunkencowjerky.com and post a picture to social media. We'll let you come on the spotter stand and talk about your great experience with Drunken Cow Jerky anytime, any place, on any show. Post a picture of you with your purchase of Drunken Cow Jerky, and you're welcome in here anytime.
Yes, and there is a link in the description box below to the Drunken Cow Jerky website. If you just scroll down just under the video in the description box, there's a link that'll take you straight to their website. They've got 6 great flavors, and 7 if you include the Wolf Bites, plus the Drunken Cow Jerky Pepper Spice. You can get you some of that. That is great on just about anything. So we encourage you guys to visit them. Go in and get you some of that Drunken Cow Jerky, and you will enjoy it, no doubt about that.
Just show your Otis the Drunken Cow sticker at the door, and we'll let you right on in here.
Well, with that, we're going to call it a week. We appreciate everybody tuning in here on the Spotter Stand. I appreciate all you guys who joined us here live. Brain Fade, Aussie Bill, Les, thanks for coming on, and our special guest, Rugrat. We really appreciate you being here with us this week. And we will see all of you guys next week with some more great racing news right here on the Spotter Stand.
See you at Kansas.
See ya.
Toto 2.